Hello there, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Michelle Ferré and I'm a 4th grade teacher in Maryland. For today's video, I wanted to take some time to respond to your comments and answer some of my frequently asked questions. I'm gonna jump right into it. I am reading the questions off of my phone and I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anyone's name because I'm sure I will. Dorisa Claire asked, do you really only get 6.5 hours of sleep? How do you function properly? So yes, most nights, and when I say most nights, I mean school nights, I do only get about 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep. I have always been a night person. I have always stayed up really late. Even on mornings where I get up really early, for example, if I get up at 3:30 to go catch a flight, I will still stay awake until after midnight because my body just does not get tired until then. And on nights when I do happen to fall asleep early, let's say I had a really exhausting day and I fall asleep on the couch at 8 p.m., I am still just as groggy when I wake up, even though I got more sleep. I definitely believe different people need different amounts of sleep. On a typical night, I am perfectly fine with only 6.5 hours of sleep, but I will say that I do catch up on sleep on the weekends. I know you can't actually catch up on sleep, but I sleep in on the weekends and that's usually enough for me for the week, and I'm fine getting up early and not having a lot of sleep throughout the week. Taylor Givens asked, where did you get your black backpack for school? It's so cute. So this is the backpack she is referring to. I first featured this in one of my Amazon favorites videos, and I also did an updated what's in my teacher bag video. I will link both of those down in the description box if you want to watch them. I got this backpack over the summer and have been using it the past several months, and honestly, I love it. There's nothing specific that I would change about it or that I don't like. It works perfectly for me, and it was very affordable. I want to say it was between $20 and $30, maybe $35. But I plan on using this bag for the rest of this school year and probably into next school year, so it is well worth the price. It is from Amazon, so I will link it for you down in the description box if you're interested. Jackson Peck asked, what time do you get to school? My school does start later than most schools. We are not required as teachers to be there until 8:15 a.m. and our students do not begin coming in until 9:05 a.m. That being said, most mornings I get to school around 7:45, but if I have a lot to get done in the morning, like making copies, I will get there as early as 7 a.m., but I actually cannot get there any earlier than 7 a.m. because that's when my swipe key begins working. And I know there will be some people who hear this and they're super jealous because we don't start as early, but keep in mind that does mean that our school goes later into the afternoon. Our students are not dismissed until 4:10, and I coach a lot of after-school teams, which means I usually do not get time to begin starting my afternoon until about 5:45, so it all ends up working out. Even though I have more time in the morning, it means I have less time in the afternoon. Chelsea Chen says, thank you for sharing so many tips. I am a new sub-teacher. Could you also do a video about what is a teacher's expectations to a sub-teacher? When I go to a class, I always try to keep work organized and neat with as detailed as possible notes. However, I also would like to know what can I do better. Honestly, the number one thing I expect from a substitute or a guest teacher who's in my classroom is just to love and care about my students for the day the way that I do. As long as my students all make it through the day, they're all safe, then I am more than happy. I will say it is a very good feeling when I come back into my classroom and the desk is just as neat as when I left it. I've also had some substitutes who went above and beyond and actually collected all the student papers and like binder clipped them together. That is fantastic, but I don't necessarily expect that. The last thing I would say that I expect is for the substitute not to go into my supplies and use things unless it's in the sub plans. Hopefully that makes sense. But back when I taught 2nd grade, I did have a substitute who went into my Astro Brights paper, which I purchased with my own money, and she gave it to my students to make origami with, and I was not very happy about that. I understand if a student needs a pair of scissors or they need crayons, getting that type of supplies out is understandable, but I don't like when a substitute gets out some of the supplies that I buy with my own money and gives it to my students just to play with. So it basically boils down to love my kids, leave my desk clean, don't get out things from my supplies without my permission, and ask questions if you don't know something. Ask my team teachers, ask another staff member, rather than just trying to figure it out on your own. I guarantee you there are people willing to help you. Nicole Eckelberger asks, when you went in person to the schools, how did you do it? Did you ask to talk to the principal, give your folder to the secretary, etc.? I feel like my area is very flooded with applicants and really want to find a position for the next school year. So Nicole is referring to when I got my current job. I had moved to a new county. I did not know anyone in the county. I put my application in, which meant I went into a big applicant pool, but I was not getting phone calls from anyone. So I decided to take action and I drove around to local schools. I handed out folders that had a copy of my cover letter, my resume, and an example lesson plan. And that is how I ended up getting my current job, so it was successful for me. When I went to the schools, I made sure that I went around mid-morning time when I figured they wouldn't be super busy, but they're also not about to go to lunch. And I would just buzz into the school, however their system did it, and I would go in and I would ask to speak with the principal. But I will say that in almost no cases did that actually end up happening. Instead, the secretary would tell me that they were busy. Then I would ask the secretary if it was okay for me to leave the folder that had all of my information in it, and they were always more than willing to take it. When I would leave the school, I would then send an email to the principal to let them know that I had stopped by and that I left my information with the secretary. But at my current school where I teach, when I went in, the assistant principal was actually available to speak. So I went straight back, I met with her, I personally handed her my folder, she asked me a few questions, and she let me know that she would contact me if anything did arise, any positions became open, and lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, she did have a position open up. She called me, I immediately went into an interview. Funny story, I actually was on the toilet when she called me. It was super embarrassing, but I ended up going in for my interview and they hired me on the spot. So I definitely recommend going in person to schools, dropping off your resume, maybe an example lesson plan to help get your name out there. Amber F524 asked, what phone case do you have? I love how it looked protective but not too thick. So here's my phone case. It is by Spigen? I don't really know how it's pronounced, but I've actually had this phone case for multiple phones. Every time I get a new phone, I go onto Amazon and I order this case. I really like it for the same reasons that Amber highlighted. It is protective, but it's not too thick. I have dropped my phone more times than I would like to admit, and I have broken a phone in the past, like shattered the screen, but it's because it fell face down onto a rock and that shattered the screen. But otherwise, it has always been protected. I have no cracks or anything. And bonus, it does also hold cards. It's able to hold 2 cards, although you can kind of squeeze 3 in there. So I always have my ID and my credit card on me at all times, and I don't have to carry a wallet. Plus, I'm able to use the wireless charging even with the cards in the case, which is really important to me because I do not like having to mess with cords, so I prefer to wirelessly charge my phone. So if you're interested in the case, I will link it down in the description box, and I will try to link ones for different iPhones. I don't know if they make cases for other phones. I would expect that they do, but I will link the iPhones. You at least can get the information, and then you could go on and find it for your specific phone. Laura K asked, how is your year going? I know you can't vlog, but I'm just curious. Okay, so overall, I am having a great year. I love my students so much this year. They're so sweet and they just get along really well. They're like one big family. It's been phenomenal. I will say that I have been very stressed and very overwhelmed this year. It's honestly probably a good thing that I can't vlog because I don't even know how I would fit it in. This year, in addition to being the e-coach, I'm also now the team lead, so I've had to kind of adjust to that and the added responsibilities. Plus, I am teaching reading and writing for the first time in my new county, and even though I taught reading and writing in 2nd grade back in my old county, they did things very differently than my new county, which means I'm trying to learn a new curriculum. I'm trying to implement guided reading the way that they want, and it has been a lot. I'm not very happy to admit this, but I have been staying at school until about 7 p.m. every night, and I come home, I still end up working, I'm spending my weekends lesson planning. It's been a lot. I am hoping it gets better after I've taught reading and writing in my county for a year, but right now there's definitely a big adjustment period, and it's a lot. But again, I love my students, so it's all worth it. Angel Whitehead asked, could you do a video of an update on how flexible seating is going in your classroom this year? So I don't really think I'm gonna devote a whole video to it, especially because I can't film in my classroom and it would just be me like talking, but I will quickly give you an update now. I honestly have loved the way I've implemented flexible seating this year. I have decided to keep all of my student desks, but just implement flexible seating options. That means that all of my students have a desk to sit at, but they then have the choice of other options around the room. So some of the flexible seating options that I do have include wobble stools, balance ball seats, scoop rockers, floor tables, and I have different options at the floor tables. They can sit on the floor, they can sit on wobble cushions, they can sit on these comfy floor seats that I have that move up and down. I also have bean bags, and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but that's the basis of it. The basic layout of my room has all the student desks in groups in the center. I have a carpet in the front for whole group. I have 2 floor tables to the side by my library area. I have my kidney table in the back for small group, and then I have 2 rectangular tables on the other side of the room, and those have a lot of the wobble stools and the balance ball seats. The reason this works out so well this year is because I actually have the co-taught class. So I have a few special educators in my room throughout the day, and it allows us to be able to work with students on a more small group or one-to-one basis, but be able to spread out around the room. Some of my students will be at their seats, some of them will be on the floor tables working with a special educator, some of them will be at a back table, one of the rectangular tables with a special educator. I'll be at my back small group table with students, and it just really helps us to be able to spread out and meet all of our students' needs. So I have no complaints about it. I honestly have loved it. I haven't had any arguments among students. They're very good at just picking what's available and what works for them, or staying at their seat if that's what they prefer. And it has been phenomenal. Definitely a game changer for me and my students this year. Stephanie Milliken asks, when are y'all getting married? So our wedding date is 10/10/2020, which is October 10th of next year. We are now under a year until that date, which I will say time has flown by. We got engaged in February, so the fact that already 6, almost 7 months have gone by is crazy, but I am excited. Our venue is booked, our photographer and videographer are booked, and I have my dress, and we're meeting with a DJ next weekend, so the pieces are all starting to come together. There's still a lot to do. I didn't realize how intense weddings were and how many details there were. Thankfully, my mom is taking care of quite a bit of that because she is very organized just like I am, and she's enjoying planning all of that, but yeah, it's coming. Less than a year. Chelsea Alyssa says, I love seeing this type of video. It was a nice change of pace. It was fun to see you outside of the education realm. I'm so glad you took some time for yourself. Question, where did you get your Dunder Mifflin sweatshirt? I'm a huge fan of The Office and have been wanting to treat myself to one. First of all, the video she is referring to was my Friday night vlog that I did last weekend with Billy. I will link it down below. It was a ton of fun. We carved pumpkins and we watched a movie and we made pizza. It was a great date night. My Dunder Mifflin sweatshirt actually was a birthday present from Billy. It was the one thing I asked for this year. It is from Amazon because I sent him the link for the one that I wanted, but it's super comfy, really affordable. It's adorable. I get compliments on it every time I wear it, so I will link it in the description box. And if you have not watched The Office, highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Shell Sinner, I probably butchered that, says, I teach high school, but I love your organization. My question is, how do you afford to buy all those supplies? Do you have a classroom budget? This isn't even what my beloved stash of supplies looks like in August. In June, I can't even scrap up half a crayon. Okay, let's talk about teachers spending money on their classrooms. So I do not get money from my school to spend on my classroom, so all the money that I do spend does come out of my own pocket. I will say that my first 3-ish years of teaching, I spent a lot more than I do now because I had to buy a lot of the organizational systems. I had to buy a lot of the supplies to kind of build my stash, but lately I have not been spending nearly as much. My first year of teaching, I would say I spent probably a couple $1,000s, maybe like $2,000 to $3,000, but now I would say I spend like, I don't know, less than $500 a year, and a lot of that is just supplies for lessons and giving my students little things and making things for them. But I will say, in terms of building up a supply stash, I highly recommend stocking up after back to school time when a lot of things go on sale. I typically go to Target and will buy folders and composition books and things like that that I know my students may need throughout the year for really, really cheap. I'm talking like 5 cents a folder and like 5 or 10 cents for a notebook. Same things with crayons and markers and scissors. I buy them either in bulk from Sam's Club or BJ's or on Amazon, or I will buy them on sale during back to school time. I spent a lot of money my first few years buying those supplies, but now I just have a stash of it and I can go in and get things for my students as they need it. I don't really have a budget for myself. I probably should have when I first started teaching, but honestly, I just bought things as I needed them, and I would ask for gift cards and things from family to help supply all of the things that I was supplying for my students. Queen Elise says, "Hi, I have a question for you. Do your students know you are a YouTuber?" First of all, fun fact, Queen Elise, my middle name is Elise, spelled the exact same way, A-L-I-S-E. Do my students know I am a YouTuber? Yes, they do. When I first moved to my new school, I had a student whose sister watched my channel, and he made it very known to my class at the time that I was a YouTuber, and then word just spreads very quickly. Plus, I have been on the news, like the local news, so a lot of people are aware. Pretty much all of my students know. A lot of them do watch my videos. I had a student come up to me after my last week's video with my Friday night vlog, and she was like, "Miss Ferré, I know everything you did this weekend." Originally, when my students started finding out and would ask me questions about it or would talk to me about it, I didn't really know how to respond. I felt kind of awkward, but I will say now that I'm actually really happy that my students get to watch my videos or at least know about what I do, because it helps them to understand how passionate I am about teaching and how much I love what I do. And I think that that's important for students to realize that teachers are there to help them, and that's their #1 goal. Nyla asks, "Which cream do you use for your keratosis pilaris? I am willing to try anything at this point." So keratosis pilaris is a skin condition. It causes these red bumps. Most people have it on their arms or on their legs. Personally, I have it all on my upper arms and even on my lower arms. I have tried a lot of different things to try to get rid of it, and I ended up watching a YouTube video by a dermatologist, and she recommended CeraVe products. So that is what I use. I actually use the CeraVe SA cream, and it's made for rough and bumpy skin. You can find CeraVe at Target, but you can also order it on Amazon. That's where I got this one. This tub was about somewhere between $15 and $20, but it does last a really long time. This has helped so much with my skin. I will say you have to use it consistently. When I do use it every day for several weeks, I notice a big difference. But if I start slacking on it and I don't use it very often, the keratosis pilaris comes back. So if you're gonna use it, you have to be consistent to see results. But if you also suffer from that, suffer is not the right word. If you also have that, then I recommend giving this a try. Not sponsored whatsoever, but CeraVe, if you wanna hit me up, I'm here. Rebecca S says, "You remind me so much of the actress Mayim Bialik." I probably mispronounced that, I'm sorry. I love the videos you do with Billy. I have gotten so many comments telling me that I look like her, or people will just say you look like the actress from Big Bang Theory. And it's funny because I never got those comments even from people like in person before YouTube, but I will say I've had hundreds of comments telling me that. I don't really see it myself, but apparently other people do. Funny story, a couple of weeks ago, I was walking my students out to dismissal, and the father of one of my students called me Blossom, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and he was like, go home and Google it. So I went home and I Googled it, and funny enough, it's the exact same actress who was in that show. So I went back to him the next day and I was like, oh, funny you say that, because people tell me all the time that I look like her. So thank you, I appreciate it. I don't really understand it myself, but thanks. Morgan J asks, "Hey, it's super random, but where did you get your sheets and quilt from? They're so cute, thank you." So our sheets, I think our current set of sheets are from Bed Bath & Beyond, but before that we had like jersey sheets from Target. They're super cheap. And our quilt is from Home Goods or TJ Maxx. I forget which one we ended up getting it from. But again, it's just like a basic white quilt. It was pretty affordable. The reason we switched from a comforter to a quilt, Not so funny story is we needed to get our comforter cleaned. We had used it for a couple of years. It had a lot of like cat hair and stuff on it. So we took it to a local dry cleaners because it would not fit in our washing machine. We tried, couldn't get it to work. So we take it to the dry cleaners and about 2 or 3 weeks go by. We go back to pick it up, not ready. Another 2, 3 weeks goes by. We go back to pick it up, still not ready. And eventually, I think about 4 months had passed and we just gave up on our comforter and thought we were never gonna see it again. So we went out and got a quilt. That way it will fit in our washing machine and we can wash it at home. Teal White asks, how did you graduate at 20? We have a 5-year program in Texas. I was able to graduate college in only 3 years. It traditionally was supposed to be a 4-year program, although a lot of people, it may take them 5 or 6 years to get through it. I was able to get through it in only 3 years because going into college, I went in with already almost a full year of credits. I took several AP courses in high school and I was able to pass the test and get college credit. Plus, I did take a class at my local community college before I went off to Salisbury University. As a result, I was able to graduate an entire year early, but I did have to load up on a lot of credits every semester. I was taking about 20 credits and I was working, so it was a lot, but I think it was worth it. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Give a comment down below to let me know if you would like to see more videos like this. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss any future videos. As always, thank you for watching. I love you all so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video and for supporting my YouTube channel. If you want to check out any of my older videos, you can use the 2 links right down here. If you want to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos, you can use the link right up here. The links to all of my social media sites, my Teachers Pay Teacher store, my merchandise store, and my Amazon store are in the description box, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.